Hey, what's up guys? So we're here showing off a junk variant Synchro deck, and this one is actually going to be able to pull off a Synchro Pendulum monster, and you're pretty much just going to require Junk Converter for game. That's pretty much all you need, and you will be winning the majority of your duels. And that comes down to not only having the new Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Demonic Dragon, but in addition to that, it's really important to mention Steam Synchron lets you synchro summon during your opponent's turn, kind of like formula. What you're going to be making is the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity. This will make it so your opponents, for the rest of the turn, they cannot activate cards. So basically, you make this, they have to set everything. But the following play is what's so nasty, is you can actually get a free card off of Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Demon Dragon. This activates top 5 and lets you add for free a light or a dark. Plus, you're going to be resummoning this card anyways, because he can banish a light and dark and then special summon itself again, after already using it for, of course, synchro summoning. Now, the Denko Sekka pretty much forces your opponent to basically just lose if they are playing anything that has a bunch of back row. But in addition to that, we're going to go ahead and have access to this card, Nirvana High Paladin. Remember, your opponent can't activate cards, so basically this comes out, it makes them set cards. Denko Sekka means all your set cards are worthless. There's a face down monster. That's pretty much what your opponent will be doing. Nirvana High Paladin actually has this effect. This is kind of a win harder card, but if it destroys a monster over here, it has this awesome ability to go ahead and just half your opponent's life points, and at that point they're put at 4,000. Therefore, this card makes a game. You can actually combo even harder in this deck, but pretty much that's the go-to play with this deck. It's more so oriented around a turn 1 deck, and like I said, all you need is Converter, and that's game. This one card is pretty much all you need. You also need to have a tuner, but that's not really that difficult because you have tons and tons of tuners in this deck. The only important card is literally Junk Converter, and you go Junk Synchron, and then you go ahead and make Junk Speeder, spell summon all those cards, and then you go for game. And then on top of that, if you really wanted to have like an even more insane turn 1 play, there are multiple copies of Solemn in this deck. Plus, you will have a huge amount of hand traps because you need that one tuner to get rid of for Junk Converter's effect. All you need, Junk Converter, and then your play goes off. You make Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, and then your opponent literally cannot play Yugioh. And in the following turn, you're going to have access to, of course, usually Ultimate Presence, because most decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't have back row. They rely on all of their monsters' effects. Maybe with the exception of Salamangreat Great, but Salamangreat Great with no effects isn't going to be able to really do too much. And again, for the most part, the better Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks just happen to not play that much back row. Remember, they can't activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation in the first place. So pretty much, yeah, your opponent not only can't do anything, but they can't do anything in response to this card. This card, I don't know. I'm curious to know if you guys think this card should be hit on the next ban list, because I'm not a fan of any card that just like stops your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Shockmaster could be an easy example, but simply just this one card, it's basically a one card combo. I know, again, you need the tuner, but it's not that big of a deal. Also, for the video sake purposes, you're seeing Reload Magical Mallet, just to literally add Junk Converter. Like, that's all you need to go ahead and completely go off, because you're going to go ahead and special summon the Junk Synchron. This lets you go and special summon as many tuners, Synchron tuners from your deck. So just special summon all of them, and then this card is a free +1. You can just go ahead and see him add Junk Synchron over there. But again, you could add another hand trap. You could add Denko Sekka. So it just basically shuts down your opponent to the point where it usually doesn't matter what they're playing, unless they happen to Exodia with their opening hand. Like, it's very difficult to deal with this board, considering, remember, you cannot activate cards. So pretty much it's just summon some monsters to try to stall, but again, they can't activate anything. And you can't respond to this card, which is really, really OP. And then Satellite War just gets a huge boost of attack, because it gains 1,000 attack, where is it? Up to the number of Synchro monsters in your graveyard. And then also you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number, yeah. And then you get to destroy them, and then it gains 1,000 attack for each card destroyed. And when this card is destroyed, you get to summon up to 3 level 8 or lower Warrior Synchron and or Star Synchro monsters with different names. It usually doesn't matter, because this card pretty much just makes a game. We have one more replay, and then I'm going to give you guys a deck profile in case you guys want to go ahead and run it. I'll also give you guys suggestions in case any of you guys are interested in trying to make this deck a little bit more competitive, because Magical Mallet and Reload, I mean, they're pretty good to be able to go for the Junk Converter, because that's literally all you need once once again, I'm mentioning it several times because it's really OP. It's literally game because your opponent can't activate cards, and I would say the consistency is up pretty high considering you can play 3 copies of the card, and the card, I'll move this out of the way so it doesn't block the board, over here, it is a junk, where is it, it's a warrior, so you're able to go ahead and search it off with Rhoda too. So basically you're playing 4 copies of it, if you will, and it's excellent. Plus you also have extra consistency with, of course, the tuning, which, I mean, obviously this deck's going to be playing it. I mean, Junk Synchron's super important in the deck. We haven't even gotten 1 copy of it yet, but obviously, where is it? Tuning, there it goes. You add a Synchron tuner, which is really great. And then you also get to mill 1, which could actually help you out depending on the situation. But for the most part, I mean, the go-to play is half them, and then you go ahead and make a game. And it's quite consistent to go ahead and have that turn 1 play of being able to stop everything your opponent controls with. Again, it all stems from this 1 card. Basically, just activate this and you'll be good to go. Some other great suggestions, again, a lot of times when I'm recording or sometimes when people send things in, they're trying to turbo it out just to add some consistency to just get the replay, and I totally understand. I do the same thing over here. Shout out to my boy AzneyesWhitedragon for hooking me up with these. But like, you could even take it a step further. He was playing Solemn, not that it mattered. I mean, most of the duels you were seeing him win without it, but I think things to make this deck a little bit better would be like Called by the Grave. This deck can't really play through multiple hand traps like 1, but 2 is really pushing it depending on when they stop it. So playing cards like Called by the Grave, playing cards like Impermanence to go ahead and stop your opponent, or the other card that can act as like Pot of Greed could be excellent as well for this deck variant. And again, I even think that you can definitely get away with Desires in this deck because you're able to play multiple copies of things that you need to special summon from the deck. Unless you banish like all your copies of Steam Synchron, if you were to play Desires, I would play another copy of Steam Synchron because it's one of the more important cards to allow you to go ahead and make the play. You can't really play Extravagance. There's really not too much room in here. I mean, if you really want to push for it, like, you could definitely make Quasar, and like, there's a lot of cards that aren't really that necessary, but cards like Hot Red and Archie King Calamity, obviously you need this card. We also saw plays with these, but for the most part, they're win harder. Silas Warrior is absolutely amazing as well. This is kind of a win harder card as well, but obviously your Junk Speeder, I would just max out on those, and if you want to play Extravagance, you can go ahead and do that as well. I mean, you could play either one or just throw in both of those, because I feel like you need to kind of bait out one thing from your opponent. And if your opponent doesn't stop Extravagance or Desires, they usually don't happen to have, like, most people will stop that play because it's a +1. Depending on what deck they're playing, obviously Nibiru can be a thing that you need to think about as well, because you will be special summoning multiple times in this deck, and there's an instant negate that you will be able to have access to. So I think that things like Called by the Grave can be excellent for those purposes, or Dark Ruler No More, or Impermanence, just to go ahead and stop anything that your opponent would do if you happen to go in second. Again, we basically showed it as a turn 1 deck because that's what you want to go ahead and do. But going into turn, if you go to turn 2, you just summon Hot Red and Archery, and then you go ahead and say, no, you can't activate anything. But again, it's the same concept at the end of the day. You would just be negating your stuff, going for the play, then your opponent can't do anything. And you also have Denko Sekka, but again, I don't think this is necessary. I'll get into some suggestions after, but let's go over the deck profile as it was sent in. So 3 copies of Denko Sekka, 2 copies of Road Synchron, 3 copies of Junk, and we have 2 copies of Steam Synchron. This is what allows you to go ahead and Synchro summon during your opponent's turn. We have 3 copies of Ash. Unfortunately, Ash doesn't have that much synergy with the deck because it's not a light or a dark, but we also going to have 3 copies of the Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit, 2 copies of Satellite Synchron, and then we have 3 copies of Dread Converter, which allows all these plays to go on. I was even thinking about, you can even throw in DD Crow as another target that would not only be a hand trap, but it has some extra synergy because it's a light and a dark, and you want to get those free pluses off your Chaos Ruler in the first place, so I think it could be okay to think about that. And then I was also thinking about, well, if you throw in 3 copies of Junk, 3 copies of Satellite, and even 3 copies of Crow. Unfortunately, Crow is not a tuner, but then I was thinking you could even add Alert, and then you could drop the Mallets because Mallet and Reload are inherent -1s, and then you can play something else. Like I said, Alert would be an excellent choice as well. But yeah, we got we were Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, great target because it's a light and it's a tuner, and then we have 2 copies of Satellite, and then we have 3 copies of Junk Converter, which literally 1 card equals game over, negate everything, because remember, you summon this, well, not this one, this one, and you're going to be able to make it so your opponent cannot activate cards. Balanced. And then 2 copies of Jet, 3 copies of Valor, 1 copy of Rhoda, So basically 4 copies of Junk Converter. Then we got our Upstart Goblin, Foolish Burial. Again, is another combo extender here. Then we have 3 copies of Magical Mallet, 3 copies of the Tuning, and 3 copies of Reload. And then we have 2 copies of Solemn. You can also just throw this in the grave, summon this, and then you basically have pretty much the combo in the first place. But Solemn Judgment, I feel like it's kind of a win harder card. And that's also orienting you on going first, because having the Solemn Judgment turn 2, and when you're going second, I wouldn't really say is the most optimal. We have Quasar, we have King Calamity, Archfiend Bane, Shooting Star, Nirvana High Paladin, Stardust Warrior, Satellite Warrior, 2 copies of him though, and then the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Then we got Chaos Ruler, Red Dragon Archfiend, Draco Berserker, Librarian, Junk Speeder, Formula. I honestly think you can actually get away with, again, Extravagance, or you can go ahead and throw in Desires. Which one you decide to do, go ahead and let me know down below, because I think both of them can actually work. You just have to not get unlucky, because remember, your Junk Speeder needs to special summon a bunch of cards, and you kind of want like 1 of each. And so if you play 3 copies of each, the chances of you banishing all 3 are low, but remember, sometimes the heart of the cards doesn't favor you. But what I would suggest for this deck, honestly, I think this is a win harder card. I honestly feel like Senka is also kind of one of those win harder cards. Cards like Called by the Grave just basically get your combo turn 1 are excellent, because this deck can basically throw a board where you can go ahead and run over your opponent's monsters. The fact that they take no damage doesn't really matter, because you're going to go ahead and you can try to get rid of as many monsters as possible, and then you can just go ahead and make this card during the next turn. But pretty much, if your opponent is heavily invested into their play, there's really no coming back for certain decks. But I think cards like Impermanence can also be great, and like I mentioned before, Reload and Magical, well, I like Magical Mallet before Reload always, but I think you can maybe drop these cards, and you can even think about adding Allure. But let me know, guys, what you would swap up down below in the comment section below. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did and you're new here, make sure you guys subscribe, turn on that bell so you don't miss out on more cool Yu-Gi-Oh decks like the 1 card and Negate everything. And on top of that, you should have a good follow-up for the next turn, because it's just literally Junk Converter. Junk Converter is pretty much just Negate everything. And if you guys want to send me other replays, like my boy AzneyesWhitedragon, once again, shout out to you, man. And I'll link him down below if you guys want to check him out. Give him a follow. He's always making some spiciest things. I mean, technically this is kind of a more a follow-up video to before what we would have, but I think this build is just much better than the previous one, so it's kind of like an updated one. But Junk Converter is absolutely insane. But send me other replays if you guys would like to be featured on the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. I'm signing out. Peace.